Welcome to my compilation of Psychoanalyzing Reddit stories, where I take real stories people have posted, the same ones our sexy Shayne read and reacted to, and break them down using psychology. Because if I can't find some reason behind all this madness, I might just lose faith in humanity altogether.
This next one is from Off My Chest. I made my girlfriend cry for admitting that my best friend is more attractive than her.
Jesus Christ.
God damn. Okay, it's a 25-year-old guy. I've been dating my girlfriend, who's 24, for almost a year now. Before we became official, we were friends for at least 4 years. Other than my girlfriend, the second most important person in my life is my best friend, who's also a 24-year-old woman. We've been best friends for more than a decade, and she's been there for me for all my lowest points. I literally would not have survived this long without her. Our relationship is purely platonic. I admit that I've had a crush on her before, but we both admitted that it would be better for us to stay as best friends, and that was that.
Does he know what platonic and crush means? A platonic relationship stops being platonic when there is a crush involved. Is he sure that he was part of that we thing? Because it looks like he directed his horny teenage crush into a decade-long emotional side piece. Something always there, always perfect, always unattainable. A fantasy.
She isn't the stereotype girl best friend either. She's just my best friend who just so happens to be female. She respects boundaries, and I'd like to believe that she genuinely just sees me as a friend and vice versa. We've been each other's support systems for a long time and even trust each other more than our own parents. Recently, my girlfriend asked me if I think she's prettier, more attractive than my best friend. For context, my best friend is a successful fashion model influencer. She looks like your typical model influencer, tall, slender, clear skin, while my girlfriend is honestly short, quite chubby, and has a lot of acne. Fuck, man. I love my girlfriend, I really do. She has social anxiety and thus sometimes goes for long periods of time without contacting me. But I've never once felt
She's
any
also
doubt
kind of stinky.
But I've never once felt any doubt or temptation to cheat or find someone else. I accept and love her as she is.
Look at how he writes about them. He writes about his best friend like she's a goddess, while describing his partner like a stable Wi-Fi connection. She's reliable, she's low maintenance, and I accept her flaws. I didn't even cheat on her when she was going through her social anxiety. Like, congrats, dude.
When she asked that question, I answered that yes, I believe my best friend is prettier, more attractive than her. I mean, come on. My girlfriend is a normal girl and my best friend literally gets paid and receives lots of free stuff solely for her looks. She got offended and started crying. She hasn't talked to me in a while either. I don't understand why she's acting that way. I mean, the answer was obvious, but it doesn't make me love her any less. I clearly chose to date her instead of other women. I accept her as a whole package.
His girlfriend didn't ask who's more attractive to hear a factual answer. And I think 25 is old enough to know that she's not asking for a Yelp review of her face. She's asking, do you see me? Or am I just a placeholder?
I told my friend about my answer and she slapped me. Now she's been on my ass to make it right.
Honestly, congrats on the best friend. She didn't slap her for honesty. She is a model. She knows beauty is a currency. And it looks like she's the only one that understands this unspoken rule that your partner must be the only star of the show.
Was I expected to very blatantly lie to my girlfriend? Wouldn't it have been worse if it wasn't honest? Anyone with eyes could clearly see who is the more attractive one.
Bro.
Wouldn't it be a slap to her to just lie to her face that way? I don't get why I have to be the bad guy in this situation. Okay, there's an update. I was able to talk to her. She apparently told other people about the situation, and everyone, including her own mother, sides with me. She shouldn't have been asking me questions like that when the answer was obvious.
Oh my God!
Guys, she apologized for even asking that question in the first place. To everyone saying I should have broken up with her, we're good. I'm feeling very betrayed by my best friend instead because it's clear whose side she took. She's the only one who took my girlfriend's side. Most of the people we know are also upset at her. These are people who actually know us and the relationship. Oh my God, what the
The thing is that his girlfriend's mother agreeing with him means nothing. This is just a cultural thing that values facts over feeling. Meanwhile, his girlfriend's pain is real. all because he answered this question from the standpoint of comparison. Yes, his best friend fits society's beauty standards, but love exists in the world of meanings, roles, and mutual recognition. It wasn't about acne versus supermodel genes. It was about you reducing her worth to a checklist. By fixating on objective attractiveness, he ignored this truth that in love, the beloved is meant to be the exception, not a contestant. And at the end of the day, honesty without empathy is just cruelty.
My husband is obsessed with Destiny's Child, and it's ruining our marriage. Last year, my husband discovered Destiny's Child. I don't know how he wasn't aware of them before, but that's beside the point. He obviously didn't have this obsession before we were married. In fact, we've been married for 7 years, and he'd never exhibited any signs of obsessive behavior before this. Now his obsession is taking over both of our lives and costing us a lot of money. He spends all day on eBay bidding on Destiny's Child merch. He is always the highest bidder, so it's very expensive.
Those eBay bids are him trying to own the confidence, the success, or youth that he feels slipping away.
He is only subscribed to streaming services so he can listen to them. He bought a Bluetooth shower speaker so he can listen to them while he bathes. We cannot have one conversation without him saying something like, you know, this actually reminds me of a Destiny's Child lyric. He's spent hours watching YouTube tutorials, learning the choreography from every video. He makes me sit down and watch him dance in front of the TV to make sure his form and timing are perfect.
He tries to learn their dance moves, which looks like a kind of introjection. It's like he tries to be them by doing what they're doing. Maybe because they seem so strong, so free, so maybe even immortal. And I think when he makes his wife watch his dance rehearsals, he's not seeking feedback, he's seeking validation.
He emails the members often, begging them for a reunion. He emails Beyonce regularly, begging them for a reunion tour. He has also sent them birthday gifts in the mail. I would like to point out that his obsession is not sexual in any way. He just thinks they're really cool. I'm almost to my wit's end. I feel like I can't escape Destiny's Child and have lost my husband completely to this obsession. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
This one is very interesting to me because why Destiny's Child? Why this particular band? Why be so fixated on a band that doesn't even exist anymore? But then I remembered Survivor's lyric. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder, I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it. This song screams control, resilience, and freedom. And this is a theme that repeats in their songs. You can see how the content of the music that he is fixating on is the key. So basically, I think the husband needs to feel powerful again. He's going through maybe a midlife crisis, a fear of mortality. Maybe he's feeling emasculated, unseen. He's turning some sort of gnarly emotion into a socially acceptable frenzy.
My husband had an MRI yesterday. He reluctantly agreed to it because he knew I was absolutely terrified and anxious. No tumor, thank goodness. Everything was normal. He is finally beginning to understand how seriously I take this and how much of a problem it's become in our marriage. He has agreed to visit a therapist. Hoping for the best. Thank you all for your wonderful advice. It means the world. All right.
Well, that is great. But I would ask, what happened before this sudden change of behavior? Maybe someone died, maybe he had some problems with his job, maybe a birthday ending in 5 or 0. But I'm so glad that at the end of the day he agreed to go to therapy, because this is a therapy goldmine.
My boyfriend got mad that I only spent $20 on him for a date. I, 24-year-old woman, went on a date with my boyfriend, who's 24, recently in celebration of our 1-year anniversary. Money's been running tight recently since my boyfriend was fired from his job recently for showing up high.
Nice.
I knew he was really upset about the whole situation, so I wanted to cheer him up, and I thought taking him out to dinner for our 1-year anniversary, which was coming up, was the perfect way to do so. I took my boyfriend to one of my favorite restaurants from my childhood. It wasn't a high-end restaurant because I make like 1/3 of what he used to make, but nevertheless, he loved the interior design of the restaurant and the food. We were having a great time until the waitress came and told us our combined bill was going to be a little under $45 after tax and tip. My boyfriend looked at me weirdly, but I thought I imagined it, so I ignored him and paid the bill. After the waitress left to get a box for our takeouts, he turned to me and asked, "So that's how much you value our relationship after one whole year of being together?" I was confused, and he said, "You only spent $40 on our 1-year anniversary date?" I asked, "What's wrong with that?"
Bro.
And plus, the prices were printed on the menu. He said, "You were supposed to pay. Why would I have looked at the prices? And every time we went out, I always spend hundreds of dollars on you." I didn't respond because I didn't want to cause a scene, and he raised his voice and said, "I see how it is. I'm only worth $20 to you." Then he left the table and told me I can take an Uber home. I feel really bad, and I apologize many times, but he's still mad at me, understandably. And things have been awkward. Oh my God.
Her boyfriend's meltdown isn't about money, he's basically projecting. Since he feels like a failure himself, thanks to being fired for showing up high, then it must be because his girlfriend is the one making him feel small. And then he tries to overcompensate for his own insecurity by playing big spender. But now that the roles are reversed, his ego can't handle it. He's grasping at anything to feel important. So he's redirecting his anger at himself into a weird petty guilt trip for his girlfriend. But the thing is that if you get fired for showing up to work stoned, your financial situation is not your girlfriend's problem. He has to face the reality that this wasn't about the dinner and he was just scared because he feels like he lost value.
This is a 37-year-old man writing in, "Why is my wife, 30-year-old woman, jealous that my ex-wife has found love? My wife is kind of obsessed, stalking and following my ex-wife since she told us that she was engaged. Apparently my ex has been seeing this guy for a while, but since she's a mom, she didn't want to make it official until everything is serious so as not to confuse the children. My wife is in shock, and her first reaction to the news is, 'Who is this loser then?' But the new guy seems really nice, and instead of being glad that at least her stepchildren would have a good man in their mother's life, my wife is very irritated and angry. I would even say jealous. She isn't following my ex on Instagram, so she can't follow the relationship, so she sent the new guy a follow request. I confronted her and she denied being jealous or obsessive. I told her that we should be happy since my children will have to live with this man, and it is a good thing that he is good to their mother and that she's in a happy relationship. It benefits everyone. She asked me who in his right mind would want her. I was surprised because why would she not think any human, let alone someone like my ex, is worth love? I told her probably plenty would because she is a kind and pleasant person. All hell broke loose and she started calling my ex names. Can anyone help me out here?"
Looks like she's running a kind of mental scorecard. If the ex was truly awful, then my husband must be the prize. But if the ex has moved on, found a good partner, and is happy, maybe she wasn't the problem. So was he the problem? And if he was, what does that say about me for choosing him? This thought feels threatening. And the quickest way to shut it down is to trash the ex, to re-establish the ex as the villain, and by extension her choice of him as valuable. It's a defensive move to protect her own self-esteem and the image she has of her relationship. Also, in terms of jealousy or envy, this is a bit tricky, but it leans toward envy. The ex-wife's happiness shouldn't impact her directly, but it stings her anyway. Even if we would have called this jealousy, it isn't a romantic kind of jealousy. It's existential. She's guarding her sense of worth and the narrative that keeps her relationship feeling safe. The real work isn't convincing her that the ex is nice. It's helping her feel secure enough that another woman's happiness doesn't threaten her own.
Am I overreacting for being offended that my parents called a little girl the cutest little girl they had ever seen? I think voice inflection matters a lot here. They said it very emphatically and with purpose, as if they meant every word sincerely. Context: at my brother's wedding, the bride's 4-year-old niece was the flower girl. I was 26 at the time. I get it. It sounds like I'm jealous of a 4-year-old, and I'm not. She was an adorable little girl. I also understand that families sometimes kiss the keisters of their in-laws to establish or retain good family relations. The way they said it with such absolutism just rubbed me the wrong way. She is the cutest little girl I have ever seen, they fawned over and over again. I'm their only daughter, so I felt some kind of way about it, just standing off to the side like, great. I'm just not a fan of speaking in absolutisms to begin with. I tend to take things very literally. I avoid saying things like, that's the best wedding/party I've ever been to, because it could easily be overheard by someone else whose wedding/birthday party, retirement party I've attended. I don't know, it felt like a burn from my parents. Am I overreacting, or do my own parents think I wasn't that cute? I mean, why didn't they say cutest kid I've ever seen? Because that would contend with my brother. Why couldn't they have just said, she's adorable, so cute, she did a great job in her role? You can compliment without setting up a favoritism paradigm. ETA, they were speaking to the flower girl's grandparents.
When we react strongly to something small, like a casual compliment given to someone else, it's often because it touches a much older wound. I think our first clue to finding this wound is in her response to one of the comments.
Someone else said, did I miss something? Is this really about your parents making a compliment about a 4-year-old girl? I think of all the things someone could do to make you feel bad about yourself, that's really not that bad. I think it had nothing to do with you, and you'd probably be a lot happier not wasting your energy on such things.
Yeah.
You're essentially saying you'd feel happier policing what kinds of compliments your parents pay. That's what would make you happy? OP responded saying, no, what would make me happy is feeling like I was the cutest little girl my parents had ever seen, instead of being saddled with this lifelong inferiority complex.
That right there, that's not about the flower girl. That's not petty jealousy. That's grief. I feel like she's aching for something she never fully got growing up. Not just praise, but the kind of unconditional, non-comparative love that makes you feel whole and safe in your parents' eyes. And we can see this based on her own comment. Maybe as a child she always had to fight and work for her parents' love and affection, which can make you a perfectionist. Because if love is contingent and only given when they behave a certain way, then the child may internalize this belief that I must earn love by being perfect. And that kind of upbringing leaves a mark. And I think that's why that kind of language feels like a betrayal to her. Because she had to grow up like there's only so much love and praise to go around. And then, all of a sudden, her parents give all of it to someone else, a random child. And so the most familiar conclusion that she can get from this emotionally is that I am not enough. Now I think this is the wound. So again, she feels all of those negative emotions that comes from this feeling of not being enough. But now that she's older, she can't really face that feeling head on. So instead, she gets hung up on the exact phrasing and she lashes out. Because when love feels like something you have to win, every compliment given to someone else can feel like a reminder that you lost.
I, a 28-year-old man, am considering leaving my girlfriend, who's 29, after she catfished me as a prank. Me and my girlfriend have been together for 2 years. I've always thought she was very sweet and kind, and I really appreciate how much she loves me. And while she sometimes got a little jealous, I didn't think it was a big deal. Hell, maybe I even enjoyed being doted on like that. It made me feel really attractive, which I never really felt I was. Recently, we attended a work event organized by my company, and we met one of my coworkers there. She works at a different branch, and we hardly ever talk outside of work emails and calls, but we get along well enough. This event was my girlfriend's first and only time meeting this coworker. On the way back from the event and the following day, my girlfriend was acting a little weird. She kept asking me about a work wife and asking if I thought that coworker was pretty and other stuff about her. I knew my girlfriend could get kind of jealous, and I did my best to calm her down. No, that woman isn't my work wife. I don't follow her on any socials. I don't even have her personal phone number. I don't think she's more beautiful than my girlfriend, and I am happy with my girlfriend, etc. She seemed to relax, and things got back to normal. A few weeks later, out of nowhere, I got a follow request on IG. My account is private, from my coworker. I approved and followed back. Her account is also private. That account was almost nothing but a few pictures of her in swimsuits, uploaded very recently. It didn't look like anything overtly sexy, just normal vacation pics. But there was nothing but vacation pics. It seemed weird, but I didn't really care. Then a few days later, she DM'd me on IG. It was just small talk and I replied, but it wasn't flirty or anything, in my opinion. She kept reaching out every few days and eventually it did seem to get kind of flirty. I told her this felt inappropriate and I was in a relationship and I'd appreciate if we kept things professional, which she seemed okay with. My girlfriend seemed extra affectionate the days after that, and while I didn't suspect anything at the time, you can all probably see exactly where this is going. Still, at the time I was happy and my girlfriend even seemed to be better regarding her jealousy. But then last week, I got a follow recommendation on my IG. It was my coworker's account. This one wasn't private and was just a normal IG account, and looking through it, that was where those swimsuit pics came from. Here they were, just a part of her normal IG account which contained mostly normal pics and not just swimsuit ones. Then I put two and two together. Before confronting my girlfriend, I talked to that coworker at work and asked for her IG account, and she gave me her normal one, which I followed. And indeed, she gave no indication that we ever interacted on IG before, so it became clear I was being catfished. I confronted my girlfriend then, and at first, when I was trying to be subtle, she denied everything outright. Then she shifted to gaslighting me about it and saying it was just a prank, or that it was a test, or that because she was cheated on before, she just needed to know that she could trust me. I told her that her being able to trust me was great, but how am I supposed to trust her now? She said that made no sense, and kept deflecting no matter how I tried to explain, going so far as to question how I even knew it was her if I wasn't cheating on her with my coworker. I told her that this was unfair and manipulative, and that I needed some time and went home. She's been texting and calling since, saying that I'm ruining a great relationship over nothing. I'm overreacting, and that when I finally realize how much she loves me, it might be too late, and it's not fair for me to throw everything we built over some skank. But that just feels incredibly manipulative to me, and like she doesn't get what she did wrong at all. So I'm conflicted between wanting to just cut and run and giving it another go. After all, we've been happy together for 2 years, but also, can trust be rebuilt after something like this?
I think we've all seen people like this. Partners who are so jealous that they basically need constant reassurance that their partner still loves them, that they are not being cheated on. So it turns into these endless cycles of, do you still love me? Are you cheating on me? Are you looking at someone else? And these aren't just questions, they are fights, and they keep happening, and they will drain you. Like, this girl had to go as far as catfishing her boyfriend just to get some kind of base level reassurance that he wouldn't cheat. And when she gets confronted, she starts denying, gaslighting, deflecting, calling it a prank, which is so childish, right? And using these kind of primitive, immature coping mechanisms like this usually reflects very deep anxiety or fear. Like, a person who gaslights probably can't face their own actions, so they try to rewrite reality. A person who denies is overwhelmed by anxiety, shame, or loss. And someone who manipulates probably has a deep fear of rejection. And she does all of this because basically admitting what she did would mean admitting she was being toxic and even getting dumped. And that's too hard for her to accept, especially if her whole sense of self-worth is tied up in needing to feel wanted. The sad part is that this kind of insecurity, when it's that deep, is not something that one partner can just fix for the other. It takes both people working on it. And in this story, this girl doesn't even seem like she wants to change. It's like she has no self-awareness at all. But then again, why did this guy, the OP, stay with her this long? That kind of hesitation usually comes from somewhere, and usually fear of being alone pairs well with this kind of pattern of behavior. The jealous partner constantly demands reassurance, and the partner with a fear of being alone just keeps giving it, because losing the relationship feels worse than being drained by it. So they sort of lock into this emotional feedback loop where one person's anxiety feeds the other's insecurity and vice versa. It creates this illusion of closeness, but really it's just like mutual anxiety management. And it's hard to break out of because both people are getting something they think they need, even if it's costing them a lot. At the end of it, I think there are two lessons in this story. First, when a relationship starts needing tests, tricks, or games to prove love or loyalty, something is already broken. Real trust doesn't need to be checked like that. And second, if your fears are so strong that you tolerate being manipulated just to keep someone around, then that fear is making your choices for you. So it's probably best to get to know them first.
Am I the asshole for my reaction to my sister-in-law's nickname for my husband? Okay, the people involved, me, a 27-year-old woman, my husband, Connor, 27-year-old man, and his sister, Sophie, a 30-year-old woman. Fake names. I feel uncomfortable with the nickname my sister-in-law calls my husband. Bubby, Bubs, or Booba. It's not inherently sexual, but I think it's weird for two grown adults. No one else in his family calls him that, just her. When I brought it up to my husband, he brushed me off, saying she's always called him that. Last night at a family dinner, she used the nickname, and I guess I made a face and got quiet, which I tend to do. Later, when we were alone, she asked if something was wrong. I debated saying nothing, but figured this was my chance to address it. I told her I found it inappropriate, especially since my husband doesn't like nicknames in general. She wasn't surprised, which annoyed me, and said that as long as Connor doesn't mind, she doesn't see the issue. She also said she felt like I was implying something inappropriate, which was gross, her words. Then that set me off, and I regrettably made a comment about how she's been single her whole life and might be projecting onto her brother. She just started laughing and said if I'm jealous of my husband's sister, I need couples therapy. Then she said she'd ask Connor if it bothered him, and if so, she'd stop. At that point, I panicked because I didn't want this getting back to my in-laws. As she was leaving, I told her not to start drama and to handle it like adults instead of telling on me. Oh. She just rolled her eyes and said, "You made your bed." Today, she called Connor and told him everything. He said the nickname doesn't bother him and that my reaction was disrespectful to his sister. He also said it made him feel like I don't see their relationship as platonic, which is disgusting. I told him I don't think he has bad intentions, but I can't say the same for his sister. That just made him more upset. Now he's being cold toward me. I know I didn't handle it perfectly, but I don't get why it's such a big deal. Their insistence on keeping the nickname makes me feel like something bigger is going on. So Reddit, am I overreacting? Should I push this, or do I need to drop it?
I think this is a story that shows us why things might not always be what they seem. Let me explain. This situation is a mess, right? We have an offended sister-in-law, we have a weirded out husband, and a projecting pseudo-pervert wife that implies there's something going on between the first two. Again, a mess. But at the same time, in the comments of this post, she was so open and understanding and willing to say, oh, I didn't know that, I fucked up, I am the asshole.
Comments. You're the asshole. I live in the South. I can't throw a rock right now and not hit at least 5 Bubbas. Yeah. The female version is Sissy. Every little kid down here calls their brother Bubba or Bubs or their sister Sissy or Sis. It's literally the most common nickname in this region. If you yell it at Walmart, you'll get the attention of all the shoppers. What's gross, though, is you thinking something more than sibling affection is going on here, and you do need to work through that ASAP. Yeah. Oh, and FYI, I have at least 2 cousins older than 55 that are still known as Bubba. OP responded, "This genuinely helps a lot. I'm not from the US and an only child, so this is all new to me. His family is originally from the South, so that context makes a lot of sense." Another person said, "You're the asshole. You sound like a jealous kid with a schoolyard crush, not an adult in your late 20s. What they call each other is their business, but the real problem here is that it sounds like you never brought this up to your husband before you going to his sister. Marriage is about communicating. If it made you uncomfortable, he should have been your first port of call, or at least you should have brought it up right after you talked to her rather than waiting for him to find out." OP said, "Just to clarify, someone mentioned this earlier, but it got lost in the comments. I wrongly assumed that Bubby was a mix of hubby and brother, which is why it felt strange to me. I'm an only child, my family doesn't use nicknames, and I'm not from the US, which doesn't mean I was right, but I do think it's an important context. I'll talk to Connor ASAP to clear things up because, yeah, I'm obviously the asshole here."
And to me, that's actually a sign of self-awareness, which actual assholes don't usually have. Assholes don't have self-awareness. So what kind of alternative explanation could we find for her behavior? I can't just say that this was an insecurity thing, she was just salty or something like that, but I think the reality might be a bit deeper. I think their marriage has a flaw and they feel distant. Again, this came to me when I saw how quickly her misunderstanding got solved in the comments, because that means her conversation with her husband was shorter or had less impact than 2 strangers commenting on her Reddit post. And she basically confirms it herself when she says, "I brought it up to my husband and he brushed me off." So she probably feels an emotional gap between herself and her husband. And when you consider that she comes from a different cultural background, you can see what made her feel this way and what she was actually projecting. She was jealous of that closeness, of that intimacy between her husband and his sister, because I think she doesn't have it.
I was once again left out of my daughter's birthday pictures, and I'm done talking to my husband about it.
Oh
no.
This is sad.
Pretty much as the title says, my daughter turned 5 in the middle of last week, but yesterday we had her birthday party. We had it at the local trampoline park since that's her favorite place right now. Because of my husband's work schedule, I did the majority of the planning. He did contribute financially, but I planned the theme, made the party reservation, ordered the cake, made the party favors, etc. My daughter is a huge daddy's girl, and thus he is the favorite parent. She's only 5, so I don't hold it against her by any means, but it still definitely hurts. For health reasons, I can't jump with my daughter, but my husband was. They both had a great time, and so did the other kids that were there. But just like previous years, I'm the one behind the camera. I take all the pictures every year, and I'm not in any of them. I've spoken to my husband about my feelings before, but all I get are empty promises of how he will do better. Last year, we rented a room at the local conference center for her party, and I asked my grandmother to take pictures of me and my husband holding our child while we sang happy birthday and cut the cake. Instead of pictures, she took a video. Once again, no pictures of me. Call me old-fashioned, but I like printing pictures for photo albums, and I can't exactly print off a video, so another year of no pictures. After yesterday's party, we decided to take her gifts home rather than open them at the party. The kids had a very limited time at the park, so rather than spend 20 minutes opening presents, we figured it would be better to take them home and open them there so the kids had more time to play. Even while opening presents, I was behind the camera. My husband didn't think once that I should be in any of them. By the end of the day, I was very upset, and I'll give my husband credit for knowing where I am. But then again, I wasn't really hiding it. I went to say goodnight to my daughter because I had to be up early the next day. He followed me to talk to me. He said, "What's wrong? What did I do?" I just looked at him and said, "It's what you didn't do for the 3rd year in a row."
Oh.
I went to the bedroom and he didn't follow me. I'm just done. I'm so sick of his empty promises of doing better. Besides little things like this, he's a good husband and an amazing father, but it genuinely feels like there are times when he doesn't think about me at all. And if anyone thinks, well, why don't you just ask him to take pictures? I shouldn't have to. I'd like to think that my husband would want pictures of me and our child together. The last picture I remember him taking of me and our daughter was in a restaurant on my 29th birthday, and I asked him to take it. I'm so tired of this. At any time, I could get sick or be in an accident and die, and the only pictures my daughter will have of me will be selfies I've taken, none of me on her birthdays or even holidays. Because of our crazy schedules, I won't see my husband again until next Sunday, unless he stays up all night to see me in the AM, which he sometimes does. Part of me wants to text him and lay it all out, again, but the majority of my thoughts is to just give up on it. I told my husband it's the 3rd year in a row, but it's probably been more than that. I don't recall seeing any pictures of me and her on her birthday or me even being in the background. I'm just so hurt and tired of it. Thanks for reading.
Okay, so this one is such a beautiful presentation of the self-sacrifice schema. Schemas are basically patterns of living that people develop in their childhood, and they all have a core belief, like I gotta please everyone, or no one will ever stick around. And these patterns kind of make us think or feel or act a certain way as adults. So I think you can guess what the core belief of a self-sacrifice schema looks like. My role is to give, care, and keep things running. And if I put my needs first, I'm selfish or will hurt other people. And the resulting pattern of this core belief consists of mainly 4 things. First of all is chronic caretaking. Second one is difficulty asking for help, praise, or attention. Third is resentment and invisibility. And fourth one is guilt when they do prioritize themselves. Basically, meet everyone else's needs, hope they'll notice hers spontaneously, and feel invisible when they don't. Now let's get back to the story. OP does all the organizing steps behind the camera and won't explicitly ask to be included, and then feels hurt and unseen. That is textbook self-sacrifice schema. So the missing photo isn't just a picture problem, it's shorthand for notice me. But here's the trap. Her husband may truly love her, yet still be oblivious. If she can't bring herself to state the need plainly, like, hey, take the phone and get a few shots of me with her. Then she hands all the power to someone who's bad at reading hints. Then each birthday reopens the same wound and reinforces this belief that she's unseen. Bottom line is, she's craving spontaneous proof that she matters, and he's the kind of guy who needs direct instructions. Until those two realities meet, this cycle repeats. She sacrifices and hopes while he enjoys the moment and forgets, and the camera keeps recording her absence.
Boyfriend made reference during. I, a 37-year-old woman, was having sex with my 39-year-old male fiance. I was on top doing my thing. He started laughing. I was confused and asked what was funny. He made a reference about me looking like the Penguin. I'm heavier and was wearing a white tank top. I was still confused. He then pulls up a picture of the Penguin from Batman, with his disgusting face and white shirt moving in an obvious way that resembled me. I'm not usually overly sensitive and can take a joke, but this made me angry, very angry. I already really struggle with self-worth, especially in the bedroom. It led to an all-day issue. He apologized, but it meant nothing to me. Am I overreacting?
Oh,
dude.
no!
My man. He generally doesn't make comments about my body, mostly because I think he's afraid to. But yes, he has in the past while having sex. Once he made a reference of me looking like a dinosaur because my hand was kind of up, and another that he wanted to push on my stomach and make me laugh like the Pillsbury Doughboy. All while on top, his preference. And usually I can just laugh stuff off, but this was too much. I should mention he's not some super skinny dude himself and can out-eat me.
I think most people understand this is not just about the joke. It is about how people can slowly carve themselves into you. How if it happens with a soft enough voice and a half smile, you might not even realize you're bleeding. Some people believe this is what love looks like. Familiarity, teasing, honesty without filters. But I don't think we are supposed to become a punchline in someone else's comfort, especially not in the exact moment we are supposed to be the most intimate, when we are giving them everything. She doesn't cry, not right away. She says she's used to laughing things off, that this isn't the first time. There was the time he said she looked like a dinosaur, or the time he said she was like the Pillsbury Doughboy and pushed her stomach. And the thing is, she stays, or she has stayed up to now. Not because she likes being hurt, but because part of her thinks this is the cost of being seen. That maybe if she can be easygoing enough, quiet enough, she won't scare him away. That if she lets him joke about her belly, he won't leave the bed altogether. In other words, we stay with people who hurt us in ways that feel familiar. We confuse anxiety with love. We laugh when it hurts, because being left would hurt worse. So no, she's not overreacting. She's finally reacting. And maybe this isn't the worst thing a partner can do. Maybe there are worse betrayals. But that doesn't mean it is small. It doesn't mean it's okay. Intimacy should not feel like a stage where someone else gets to perform their wit at your expense. There's a big difference between someone laughing with you and someone laughing while you are too busy loving them the way they want to notice you've become the joke. I wish someone would tell her sooner that you are allowed to want sex that feels like safety. You are allowed to want a partner who softens at your softness. You are allowed to stop being the good sport, and you are allowed to stop laughing.
Am I overreacting for thinking of leaving my husband after he left me alone to hang with the boys hours after I nearly died? Y'all, I could use your wisdom here. I'll try to make this as short as possible. 2 days ago, I, a 37-year-old woman, went into anaphylaxis from an unknown source while shopping with my husband, 37-year-old man. My face erupted into burning hives out of nowhere. This has never happened to me before. I asked him to call the nurse line to make sure the ER would be covered. I'm American. He wouldn't, so I had to while my face was on fire. I get the green light and off to ER I go, where he drops me off and heads back to sit with the kids, who are 15 and 11. Long story short, the head nurse took one look at me and had the anaphylaxis cocktail ordered before I made it to the registration. 5 minutes later, and I wouldn't be here. I get discharged and I'm flying high on that cocktail and adrenaline. Husband gets me home and asks if he can go play D&D with the boys. Both kids are at sleepovers. Again, I'm effed up on meds. Happy to be alive. I would have agreed to anything, so I said he could. Next morning, it hits me. Why would it even cross his mind to go out after that happened? Now I'm so hurt, I'm seriously thinking of leaving him. Am I overreacting? Update. Wow, I'm absolutely overwhelmed by how this took off. So many comments, I can't keep up, so I'll try to address what I can as an update. We still have no idea what caused it. I have an appointment with a specialist. I do have known allergies, but never reacted that quickly or that intense before. I am not a doctor and can only repeat what they told me. It was anaphylaxis shock. I was minutes from dying. I am not the type to cry wolf and will refuse a trip to the ER at all costs. I've given myself stitches to avoid the ER. Oh my God. I am 95% sure my husband did not try to poison me. He's a donkey bum, yes, but not an evil person. He is not neurodivergent. I am, and so are my kids, which is why I didn't want them at the ER or left alone. I talked to him the morning after about being hurt that he'd even consider leaving me alone like that, which is when he said I was overreacting. Him saying I was overreacting, combined with his non-action, is what made me start to think about leaving him. I spoke with him again last night, showed him the post, and spent a good amount of time bawling. He's appalled and has been the sweetest, most attentive man since. Lastly, I have spent a lot of time reflecting on this relationship. It probably isn't healthy, but he's not the only one to blame. We're going to try counseling.
It's a strange thing to nearly die and still be thinking about your insurance deductible. But some people are raised that way. Some people learn to be cheap with their pain, to be quiet, to be efficient, easy to tuck into a bag and carry without complaint. I believe she said yes, not because she's fine, not because she doesn't want him there, but because she's been trained by either culture, family, by repetition, that she doesn't need much. And so when the person she loves chooses not to stay, the wound doesn't start with that choice. It starts with the idea that of course he thought he could go. And she's furious the next morning, not at him exactly, but at the part of herself that made it easy. Because if you spend your whole life telling people, don't worry about me, eventually someone will believe you. Bowlby would simply tell us that a person with anxious attachment becomes an expert in swallowing needs. That abandonment doesn't surprise her, it just confirms what she's always suspected. That love is something you earn by not asking for too much. But the thing is that she was asking. She was just asking very quietly in the only language she's ever been allowed to use. Restraint. I believe the apology he gave afterward was sincere. Maybe he's trying now, but the damage isn't in what he did. It's in how long it took her to realize she deserved something different. And what she deserves is something that starts with the idea that your pain does not have to be cost-effective to be worth responding to.
Am I overreacting? My fiance isn't invited to the wedding because the bride doesn't want people thinking she is prettier than her. This is a 26-year-old man. My lifelong best friend, a 26-year-old man, is getting married later this year. When he first got engaged, he asked me to be one of the groomsmen. I obviously accepted and have been excited for the wedding and to see my best friend get married. His fiance, a 26-year-old woman, and my fiance, a 25-year-old woman, have always gotten along really well. The four of us hang out pretty frequently, always have a great time, and there has never been any problems. My fiance has always considered her a friend and has been extremely happy for them and excited about their wedding. His fiance has even asked my fiance for her thoughts and suggestions on certain decor for the wedding, venues, colors, things like that. The official wedding invitations went out recently, and when it arrived at our house, I noticed it was only addressed to me and also didn't say anything about a +1. I was kind of surprised by this because I had been assuming that my fiance would be invited, given the fact that I have been with my fiance for 4 years, longer than he has been with his fiance. He has been my best friend since preschool, the 4 of us hang out all the time, and some of my family members received invitations to the wedding. But before jumping to conclusions, I thought maybe none of the groomsmen or other friends of the bride and groom are allowed to have a +1 due to costs or things like that, since weddings are obviously expensive. The other groomsmen are all friends of mine and his, so I called them to see if their significant others were also not invited. Turns out, every single one of them received an invitation that included their significant other, and the bridesmaids all get to bring their significant others as well. So at that point, I called him to let him know that I got my invitation, but that my fiance was not included on the invitation, and I asked if there was just an error or if they forgot to include her. That's when he informed me that his fiance doesn't want my fiance coming to the wedding because she doesn't want all of the guests thinking that my fiance is prettier than her. Now, I will say, my fiance is insanely gorgeous. If I had a penny, every time someone asked me how I managed to get her, I would be a billionaire. On the other hand, his fiance isn't the most conventionally attractive woman. I feel bad saying that, and it's something I have never said out loud to anyone, but for context to the situation, I wanted to include that here. I told him that I know it's not my wedding, so I don't get to pick the guest list, but I think it's a bit unfair and ridiculous that my fiance, who they are friends with, is the only significant other of the whole entire wedding party that doesn't get to come to the wedding because his fiance is worried people will think she is prettier than her. I told him that his fiance is the bride, so everyone is going to be looking at her and no one is going to be focusing on my fiance, who isn't even a bridesmaid, so she's not even going to be standing up in front of everyone. Instead, he said that he agrees with me and that he has already tried multiple times to explain this to his fiance, but that she won't budge and is insistent that everyone will think my fiance is prettier. So I ended up telling him that I cannot be a groomsman or attend the wedding then, because in my eyes, it's not fair to my fiance for me to attend or be in a wedding where she is the only significant other not invited due to the bride's own insecurities. He's upset with me now and thinks I'm overreacting, but I just don't think this is fair. My fiance told me not to worry about her and that I should be part of my best friend's big day. But even with my fiance being completely fine with me going, I honestly don't want to be around the bride.
See, it's not about looks, right? Not really. The bride doesn't simply fear being uglier. She fears being unseen. To be the bride is to be at the symbolic center of attention, the subject of the gaze, the woman, in capital W, the one we are supposed to clap for, the one we are supposed to weep over. So the bride's worst fear is, what if the gaze lands on someone else? It's not rational, but Lacan calls this the logic of the hysteric. I want to be desired, but I cannot stand the uncertainty of his desire. So she removes the question. She tries to take control, and in this case, the control takes the form of exclusion. Opie's fiance, who didn't do anything wrong, becomes too much, too beautiful, too present, and she must be left out so the bride can feel centered again. Because deep down, the bride isn't asking, is she prettier? She's begging, tell me he would never want her. Tell me I am the only one he sees. The irony, of course, is very brutal, because in trying to preserve her status as the one, the bride creates an atmosphere of division, and now people won't remember how beautiful she looks. They'll remember, however, who wasn't invited and why. There is a cruelty in this insecurity, but there's also a sadness. A girl who cannot trust she's enough unless every other woman disappears. In Lacan's view, the hysteric never finds peace through control. She only finds it when she stops asking, am I the most desired? And starts asking, why do I need to be the most desired?
I cheated on my girlfriend of 2 years with an escort, and the only thing that saved me was a trip to Panera Bread afterwards. I'll never ever do it again. So this comes from True Off My Chest, where people can anonymously post confessions. So he's posting a confession here. So me and my girlfriend have been dating for 2 years now. I really love her, but I've had a sex addiction side to me that's taken over my life. Guess I don't really love her if I'm cheating on her, right? Well, after months of research, I wanted to meet this escort who I've been seeing online in ads. So I told my girlfriend goodnight and instead Ubered to the hotel where the escort is staying at. She was beautiful, but the whole time I was imagining my girlfriend. It wasn't the best experience. After we finished, I left, contemplated telling her, but didn't. So after I left, I Ubered to Panera Bread to get something to eat. My girlfriend knows I like going out to restaurants by myself. I actually prefer eating alone as I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I finish and Uber home.
Sir, you're not a fallen priest in a Coen Brothers movie. You're a guy who lied about having Panera Bread to make your story about cheating on your girlfriend more tragic and accidentally profound. You didn't just stumble into a life lesson about love over a broccoli cheddar bread bowl. You just committed betrayal, ate food, and manipulated yourself into yet another delusion. This whole confession stinks of lies and narrative editing. He knows what he's doing. It wasn't the best experience. I was imagining my girlfriend the whole time. He's reframing the cheating as a sad mistake made by a man who just loves too hard. Oh, he's not a liar. He's just haunted by how pure his love really is.
2 days later, she hits me with the, "So did you go anywhere of note 2 days ago?" I say no. She then pulls up Uber receipts from my email showing I Ubered to a hotel. I logged into my email on her computer a couple months back. I was shocked. I was caught, I felt ashamed, and I was shook. I didn't know what to do, so I did the worst thing possible. I lied. I said Uber took me to the wrong location, since I'd only been there 20 minutes before Ubering to Panera. She found that plausible, I guess. I gaslit her saying that she doesn't trust me and that she doesn't love me. That Ubering there was an honest mistake. She knows it wasn't an affair because she's been with me the entire month. It was just a quick 20-minute escort visit. She couldn't ever imagine me using a sex worker. So we argue, but ultimately we agree that I went to Panera Bread and came home.
And then comes the Uber receipt part, the one moment where the story could have shifted from fantasy to accountability, and he still wiggles out. And how? By fucking gaslighting. I mean, he got caught, and instead of coming clean, breaking down, or even shutting his mouth, he weaponized her love against her. He told her that if she really loved him, she wouldn't question the fact that your Uber stopped right outside an escort's hotel for 20 minutes.
It's been 2 months since then. I got an STD test and it came out clean. I want to love my girlfriend the way she deserves, although I know deep down I don't deserve it. But again, who said this world is just and fair? We're both extremely happy and in love. I don't feel much regret anymore. I hope we live happily ever after.
This is the part where I want to throw something out. I want to throw him out of the window. He's actually saying that, yep, I lied, yep, I cheated and emotionally manipulated her, but hey, I'm in love. Isn't that enough? He reframes the whole situation like a sad, romantic gray area, when really it's pretty simple. He made a choice, he got caught, he didn't care enough to fix it, only enough to narrate it like he's the main protagonist in a slice of life anime. And the fact is that he is feeling so much guilt right now. He's feeling so much guilt that he has to put on this mask of, oh, I'm not even affected by the guilt. I don't even regret it anymore. I just think that this is a reasonable approach. And now he wants to convince himself, not us, that he walked out of there changed. But you don't become a better man by sipping soup after cheating. You just become a fool one.
My boyfriend, who's 23, cheated on me, 21-year-old woman, because he can choose who has access to his body. All right. I found out on Thursday that my boyfriend of 2 years was cheating on me for months with one of my childhood ex-best friends, a 20-year-old woman, and it has completely and utterly wrecked me. In all honesty, I don't know if I'll ever be able to recover from this. I loved and trusted him so much. Our relationship was literally perfect, and he had the nerve to cheat on me after telling me daily how he's never loved anyone as much as me.
There are people who will tell you they love you more than anything and still cheat on you. Not because they don't love you more than anything, but because sometimes they love you too much in the wrong way. There's a kind of love, and I know this sounds backwards, that makes a person feel like they are with an angel, someone sacred, someone pure and untouchable. And that kind of love kills their desire. They can't fantasize, can't, dominate, can't get messy in bed. Not if you feel like their emotional mother or some holy image of the one. So they split it. You become the altar, someone else becomes the outlet. I'm not saying that's what always happens, but if we take this story at face value that the relationship was perfect, that he really did love her, then that's the only way I can understand this kind of betrayal.
When I tried my best to formulate a coherent sentence and ask him why he would do this to me, he simply responded by saying, "I can choose who has access to my body." What? This has mentally fucked me up, and I still can't comprehend this situation. He texted me today that this doesn't have to end our relationship, and some paragraph asking me, why do I care when it's his body and not mine? I tried to explain to him that I valued him being faithful to me as a fundamental part of our relationship and not sharing his body with anyone else, as I would be faithful to him. Also, we never agreed to be poly or anything. He now says that he understands how much I value his physical body. I never said that, and will be fully aware of that going forward in our relationship.
That's not accountability, that's a man dodging the bullet with a mood board of fake empathy. It's like stabbing someone and then going, oopsie, I now realize how much you value the insightness of your organs. I will try to be more aware of that going forward. Like, dude, you cheated. Not because you didn't know better, but because you chose to. And now you're trying to float away from the blame like it's a philosophical misunderstanding about who owns your body. No, your body is not the problem, your choices are. And using therapy speak to confuse the girl you hurt doesn't make you wise. It makes you dangerous.
I honestly don't think I can give him another chance though. I literally thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with him, but after what he has done, that's all out of the window. It's just tough because I can think back about how I never loved or cared about my ex-boyfriends to the level that I do him. And it almost feels like I do still love him, even after he completely violated me. Are there any reasonable ways that I can go about this from here?
She's not crazy for being heartbroken, she's not wrong for wanting fidelity, and she doesn't need to be gaslit into thinking her pain is just some insecure attachment to a man's flesh prison. She just needs someone who's honest and loyal.
Am I the asshole for calling the police on my fiance? Last night, this is a 35-year-old man, my fiance, who's 38-year-old woman, left in the evening to give a friend's son a ride back to his home. She implied she'd be home before 9. She left around 7:45. 10:15 rolls around and she still wasn't home. I texted and she apologized to me, saying that her friend's son was actually in the next town over, maybe 30 minutes away, and she was coming home now. 11:45 rolled around and she still hadn't come home, so I called her to no answer. Texted her to no response. I was getting very upset. 12:30 rolled around and still no response and no answer to my phone calls. I was extremely angry. 1:30 rolled around and my anger had completely transformed into worry. Not answering my calls and texts not read. Around 1:45, I called the police. I have always heard that the first 24 hours of someone being missing is the most important, so I didn't want to delay. I asked them to let me know if there had been any traffic accidents involving her car, and the operator told me that they would put out the word and send some cops to check along the routes she would travel. I called all the hospitals in the area to see if she had been checked in, and I waited outside watching the road for her car for 3 hours. Partially because I didn't want the kids to hear me on the phone with hospitals, and secondly because I was sick with worry. At 7 a.m., she came home. She apologized for being out and said she had no excuse. She was driving home and felt tired, like she was falling asleep at the wheel, so she pulled over to the side of the road to sleep. When she did that, she found that her brand new phone had stopped working. She says she napped anyway because it was the responsible thing to do, and then came home at 7 a.m. to bring the kids to school and get to work on time. I immediately called the police and told them that she had come home safely and gave them the case number and told them to stop searching, which they did. My fiance brought the kids to school and left for work. I set out to start cleaning. Cleaning de-stresses me sometimes. And I got a call from a policeman asking where she worked. I told him and asked why, and I was informed that it was their policy to check on the person's wellness after a missing person is found. I asked them to not go by her work, but to give her a call instead. He said he couldn't promise. My fiance is relatively new to her job. A police officer showed up and asked to speak with her. She is now enraged at me for calling the police and sending a cop to her work and making her look bad. She is saying I overreacted and that she wasn't missing and that I was punishing her for doing the responsible thing and not driving while drowsy. She is saying that she is never going to leave the house again except for work because she is afraid I'm going to call the cops on her again. So did I overreact? Should I have waited 2 days like she suggests? Okay, we have an update, of course. First of all, thank you to those of you who offered kind words and solid advice. This update is likely to disappoint some of you as it does me. My fiance and I have been fighting solidly since before I posted my last thread. It's been exhausting. I called her out on her obvious lie and she fumed at how awful I was for calling her a liar. From then on, it was as if she was falling down a smooth well, desperately clawing and grabbing at anything she could to blame me for. As she went deeper and deeper, I'm not a perfect man, but in this particular situation, I was an angel, so she had nothing to grab onto.
I don't know about you guys, but I usually feel very confident when someone wants to see if I'm lying. When I'm not lying, of course. But if I do want to lie, I'm gonna be as vague as possible. And if that doesn't work and they still question me, I'm gonna use the Hulk tactic. I'm gonna get angry, I'm gonna get aggressive, because nobody questions the Hulk. The key thing here is that truth doesn't fear clarity. If someone is telling the truth, they usually welcome the chance to clarify, to reassure, or even explain. Liars, on the other hand, rely on confusion, on emotion, and blame to maintain control of the narrative. Now let's see what she did. First of all, she avoided contact. Second of all, her explanation for this situation was very vague. Basically, she used these vague explanations to avoid committing to a version of events that could later be disproven. And when confronted, she got angry and flipped the script. She said that you embarrassed me at work. This is the Hulk tactic. She turned her husband's concern into her victimhood. And based on actual research, partners do this when they are hiding something like money problems, cheating, or emotional cheating. This is a classic hysterical tactic. When truth becomes unbearable, they attack the messenger. She also says that she'll never leave the house again, which is pure emotional manipulation. It's designed to guilt trip and silence further accountability. She's attempting to make him feel irrational or controlling, even though his concern was reasonable. So we can see that she is probably lying. The only thing that we don't know is why.
I did a lot of soul searching and I made a call that most of you will hate. I decided to bury the hatchet. I love her very, very dearly. I had no proof of a lie and I wasn't too concerned about what she was really up to anyway. Our relationship is open, so even if she fucked around, I didn't care much. Okay, that's...
Okay.
She still fought with me though. The fight continued to the point where she broke up with me, but not really, which was a common tactic she had used before. I called her on it and she fought with me still. I asked for space for a night so I could sleep off the exhaustion, and she got upset and told me I was neglectful and selfish for not going to her and making up in person. I am stupid, I am aware of it. Even through all of this, I was apparently able to believe that what she said in emotion wasn't really her talking. Today I was having lunch. Money has been tight lately for some reason, weird. So I flipped through my wallet to find my credit card, which was missing. Well, you see where this goes. She had stolen it. She cited our desire to join lives together and merge finances, and that when I lent her my wallet once, she took it so she wouldn't have to bother me by asking again. This credit card is mine, under my name, and for emergencies only. She was using it for the last month and a half. While she has been decent enough to pay back some of it, there was still a $1,500 balance on it that hasn't been paid. She says that it's hers just as much as mine and resents me calling her a thief. A lot of the uses were spent at ATMs for cash withdrawals and some interesting ones at the casino. Those of you who guessed gambling were probably right on the money. At that point, I admit I lost it. I am a very calm person, but there was only so much denial of reality that I could take. It's still blurry, but I said a lot of horrible things to her and am in the process of evicting her from my life. I am canceling everything that is in my name that she is a part of, including the new phone line, canceling her car insurance and reclaiming my car that I gave her and she has trashed. Apparently, I can handle lies, cheating, and secrets, but who knew theft was my line? Learning experience. Now thinking back, I can identify lots of sketchy shit that my love goggles blinded me to, but there's a pretty strict character limit.
This update really didn't go the way I expected. Part of that is because he left out a very important detail in the original post. The fact that they were in an open relationship. And now I'm wondering, was he deliberately changing the narrative to, get some validation? Or was he, kind of ashamed of the fact that he's in an open relationship? If he was actually ashamed, then that probably means he didn't fully choose this. Maybe he agreed to the open relationship just to keep her around, not because it was something he was truly okay with. And this kind of behavior, it seems like a pattern. The pattern of him avoiding conflict, avoiding the truth, avoiding the moment where he might have to say no, to draw a line, or walk away when something clearly doesn't feel right. And most of all, a pattern of burying the hatchet, because he didn't just ignore the lie, he ignored what the lie meant. And honestly, that's understandable. You love someone, and to admit that she isn't who you thought she was means admitting that your whole relationship, everything you built, everything you hoped for, isn't what you thought it was. In that moment, it feels easier to bury the hatchet. Now, that's the most interesting part, the structure of the relationship itself. Both of them clearly have issues with the idea of limits. She constantly tests them through lies, through secrecy, through gambling, even stealing. And he constantly refuses to enforce the limits. He accepts, he forgives, he delays, he avoids. She does what she wants, and he lets her, because holding her accountable might mean losing her. But looks like that has a limit too. When she took his money, when she crossed that final line, even he couldn't protect the illusion anymore. Now, the fantasy has collapsed, and the relationship, which was built on looking the other way, cannot survive that.
All right, next one. Am I the asshole for laughing at my brother's tattoo? I guess there's cheating involved, maybe? This is a pretty cut and dry scenario. This is a 32-year-old man. My little brother, who's 25, has been in a string of relationships since he was young enough to know what dating was. On several occasions, the relationships ended because he was caught cheating with another girl. These are just the ones that I know about. There could be more. In fact, his current girlfriend, who's 19, was the other woman from his previous relationship. He, I'll call him Danny, still lives with my parents, and I headed over on the 4th for barbecue. When he reached out for a hug, I noticed his arm was super red, and he showed me his brand new tattoo that he had literally just gotten. In huge words, it said, "Loyalty," in cursive. Where I might be the asshole is that I kinda laughed as soon as I saw it and didn't try to hide it at all. It wasn't a dramatic laugh. He said, "What's so funny?" And I just said his tattoo was really ironic. He got pissed and stormed off to his room and didn't join my parents and I, plus our sister, for dinner. I told them what happened, and they said I was being an asshole. And my sister said people are allowed to change. I personally think he's acting like a child by locking himself in his room, and that I shouldn't be blamed for a 25-year-old storming off.
He probably felt awful for what he did, about the betrayal. He likely had such an overwhelming sense of guilt, one so intense that he couldn't even face it himself. So he buried it. He pushed it so deep down into the unconscious that even he couldn't see it anymore. But when you repress something like that, it doesn't go away. It still has power, and it starts to shape your decisions without you even realizing it. And the decision to choose loyalty as the word to put on his arm was not random, and absolutely was one of those unconscious decisions. It was a symptom of that repressed guilt. It was a way to distort reality, not just for others, but mainly for himself. Not to fix the truth, but to bend it into something he could live with. That's why when his older brother, this authority figure, sees this and laughs at him, it's like it's shattered. Because that laugh was not just he wasn't just making fun of him. He wasn't even only judging him. It was like a mirror. It reflected back the lie he'd been trying so hard to live inside. It must have felt like his brother smacked him on the face and said that you are not that loyal man you think you are. And that's why it hurt so bad. That's why he backed off and left, because someone shoved the truth in his face and showed him that just how massive the gap is between that tattooed word and the flesh and bone it's inked to. Like literally the gap is so wide it's laughable, and he can't handle it, so he runs. OP here isn't the asshole. He just held up a mirror to a man who couldn't face himself. But still, I do think that moment could have been handled or even communicated more gently.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
21-year-old guy. My girlfriend, who's 23, is currently working a food truck at a music festival this weekend, and I think she's cheating on me. I'm losing my mind. My girlfriend Stella and I have been together for a year now. I love her so much it's stupid, and this situation has brought such a crazy amount of anxiety. I had a full panic attack yesterday because of it. She had the opportunity to work on a food truck this summer, which has allowed her to get into a few festivals for free, and I hate it so much. One of the guys she works with is an attractive dude who's in his late 20s, and I'm convinced they're sleeping together. The group for this current trip is my girlfriend, another girl about the same age, the older guy, let's call him John, and the couple that owns the truck/business. We ran into John in public once and Stella introduced us, but the way they looked at each other made me feel so uncomfortable. She lit right up when she saw him. And now they're at this festival and all five are sharing a tent together and it makes me sick. Before she left, I brought this up and she reassured me again and again that it's nothing at all and she's there to work. When he picked her up to drive to the festival, I helped her carry a bag and he didn't even get out of the car to talk to me. Just gave me a measly, "Hey dude, how's it going?" while she got into the passenger seat, and it just pissed me off. She also seemed so off when she hugged and kissed me goodbye in front of him. Yesterday I was texting her and she barely ever replied. She basically ignored me all day and it made me so sick. My friend told me she's probably cheating on me based on her behavior. She ended up texting me in the evening before bed, but it's the same deal again today. Barely replying at all, and she spent the night in the tent, which made me nauseous to think about. I didn't sleep a wink.
Okay, so this guy, 21, insecure, very much in his first relationship, is convinced that his partner is sleeping with her coworker because the guy is attractive. That's the first fact he throws down. He's hot and in his late 20s. There's no behavioral evidence, no odd texts, no emotional distance. It's a mix of confirmation bias and emotional reasoning. It's all about his emotional interpretations, not her intentions or behavior over time, which is already not a good sign, and it shows me that he believes love is conditional and fragile. And in my experience, people who have this belief try to protect their love through control, not connection.
Absolutely convinced she's cheating on me. I don't trust her behavior at a music festival, nor do I trust the people there, especially John. I feel so insecure and scared that she's going to cheat on me. She has a couple more food truck weekends to work at other events, and I don't want her to do it anymore. I want it to end now. How can I convince her that her working the truck is f***ing with my mental health so she stops? How can I get her to stop talking to John? How can I know for sure she's cheating on me? He made an edit here, adding some justification to my feelings.
Edit.
I know this sounds a bit controlling, but she never wears makeup, and I saw her on her Instagram story that she's wearing makeup. I do think this girl is way out of my league, and she's my first girlfriend. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I don't like when she does that, and she knows that. Also, John was in a relationship up until a few days before this festival, so he's probably trying to rebound, as guys tend to do. Obviously, my girlfriend would be a solid option, and I've been to music festivals. People are crazy, girls have their tits out, and guys are maniacs. Why would this situation be any different?
This is actually heartbreaking. It's a very honest window into what happens when insecurity turns into control and love becomes like this surveillance thing. What's terrifying here is not just his suspicion, it's the way he's trying to kind of reshape her life to match his insecurity. He's turning his anxiety into a demand. Instead of managing his feelings, he wants to manage her freedom. Like he says that, how can I convince her that working the truck is messing with my mental health so she stops? He's not saying, I want support while I work through this. He's saying, I want you to change your life so I feel okay. He just wants to kind of eliminate the triggers that make him anxious, so that the pain would go away. But the triggers aren't the problem. Her wearing makeup, talking to John, going to work, those are not betrayals. His trauma probably is what's generating all those triggers, all those danger signals. In response to someone's comment asking, have you been cheated on in the past? He said,
Oh, but my parents' divorce was because my dad cheated on my mom. I have a half-sister in France I've never met. It fucks with me.
and this comment unlocks the entire story because suddenly the fear isn't just about his girlfriend or John or festivals, it's about his mom. It's about being the child of a betrayal so big it broke a family in half. It's about growing up with this belief that love is conditional, that people cheat, and that you are not safe. In a therapy setting, this is when a therapist might say that you are not reacting to your partner, you're reacting to your dad. And that might make him cry all over again, but in a way that unfreezes that fear, which might help him work through it.
All right, next story. I wish my husband would cheat on me. I, a 28-year-old woman, have spent every day for the past year wishing my 27-year-old husband would cheat on me so I had a valid out.
Oh. Ouchie, wouchie.
I hate being married. My husband would rather spend time with his brothers and parents than with me. We've been at his parents' house for the past 3 weekends. Once we leave there, he gets on video games with them until all hours of the night. I haven't been to bed with my husband in weeks. Sex is non-existent in my marriage right now. It's not just about the sex. He complains about me all the time. To my face and behind my back, I've overheard him telling people that I'm annoying or that I nag a lot. I don't feel like I ask more than any other wife. I don't get home until past 7 most nights because I have to pick up the kids, and I don't ever ask him to pick them up or to make dinner. I asked for him to help clean up the house and to help me put one of the kids to bed. He only willingly put one of the kids to bed. My house hasn't been
And the other
clean.
one, what happened to the
He's
other
just like,
one?
My house hasn't been clean in months. He just will not do chores. He ran out of clean underwear a few weeks ago and told me it was my job to do laundry, essentially blaming me. The man also refuses to take care of himself. He complains when I cook because I'm trying to cook healthy meals, and he doesn't like vegetables. He won't go to the gym with me, but instead insists on playing video games. Obesity runs in his family, and I'm trying my best to encourage a healthy lifestyle change. I know he's depressed, but he won't talk to someone or get on medication. It doesn't matter how I try to encourage him. He would just rather suffer.
She knows she's unhappy. She knows she's doing everything, the kids, the dinners, the laundry, the mental load. She knows her husband is basically a third child with a gaming addiction and a weird attachment to his mom. But now she wants closeness. She wants a partner who shows up, who helps. She wants a man, not a son. She wants to be looked at. She wants to be touched, listened to, not just managed around. But she still doesn't think that's enough. She doesn't think her reasons are real enough because no one hit her. No one screamed or threw a plate. No one cheated. So instead, she hopes he'll cheat. That way she won't have to argue her case. She can just point at the wreckage and say, see, look, I'm allowed to leave now. But she's stuck in this weird spot where she can't even say that out loud without feeling like she's being dramatic or ungrateful or too much.
All this to say, I don't feel like it's a good enough reason to get a divorce. I'm unhappy in my marriage, but it can be fixed. Both parties be willing, of course. He's just not willing. I just wish he'd cheat on me so I felt like I had a valid reason to get divorced. At this point, it wouldn't even hurt me that much. She also says, I was raised extremely religious. Leaving without a good reason, i.e. cheating, is very frowned upon. I guess I still have that pounded into my head, and that is why I don't feel like my reasons are good enough.
It's so clear how much she's been trained to never be the villain. She's overly terrified of being the bad one, of being the wife who walked away from a fixable man, a fixable marriage. Like she's only allowed to leave if he fucks up publicly. Like her private agony doesn't count unless it's stamped with betrayal. And I think that religious upbringing that she pointed out herself has a big part in this kind of behavior. This kind of belief that if you're the woman, you should stay, you should forgive. You don't give up on your family, you carry it, even if it's killing you. So yeah, she's not asking for a miracle. She's not asking for ecstasy. She's just asking not to be alone next to someone anymore. And I hope she finally believes that that is a good enough reason to leave.
Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.